One of the curious things about people is that we work a lot to earn money. But then we spend it on things we don't really need. At the end of the day, we complain about not having free time, yet we're still willing to work entire months to pay for things that aren't that important, according to an article from the Wall Street Journal. The average person has to work between 2 and 3 months a year just to pay for a new car with insurance. This doesn't surprise me, since I see it all the time. Think for a moment. How much money has passed through your hands over your lifetime? It's probably a lot, but how much of that money have you saved? That's where the problem starts. You probably haven't saved that much. And that's why many people run into financial trouble. As they say, it's not just about how much money you earn, but how much money you manage to keep. If you make $10,000 a month but live in a very expensive city, spend a ton on transportation, and another big chunk on food that's actually cheap, that's not really being rich. I say this from experience. That's why, when I decided to start my journey toward financial freedom, the first thing I did was cut down on my expenses. This was one of the best decisions I ever made because I started planning my finances better and stopped spending on things I didn't need. That was a strategy that allowed me to start investing. It may not sound like a very creative idea, I know, but you don't need to be a genius to save money. You just have to look carefully at how you're spending your money and stop wasting it. It sounds easy, but most people don't do it. That's why I want to tell you about 7 things I stopped buying in order to find the money I needed to start investing. Like this video to help with the algorithm, and now let's get straight to the topic. First, let's talk about clothing. Don't buy clothes just because you feel like it. Wait for store sales. They work like supermarkets. When a new season arrives, they try to sell as much as possible. But there are almost always some items left at the end of the month or the season. Before the new collection arrives, stores offer big discounts. Like 30%, 40%, or even 70% in some cases. That's the ideal time to buy clothes. It might not seem like you're saving much if you do this once or twice. But if you do it consistently, over time it will help you save a lot of money. Number 2, coffee. Let me ask you a question. Do you know how many cups of coffee are consumed each year? 1 trillion? 10 billion? 100 billion? No, it's actually 146 billion cups just in the United States. And over 400 billion worldwide. It's impressive that 1/3 of global consumption happens in the US. Clearly, there are a lot of people willing to pay $5 for a cup of coffee. No wonder this industry is so massive. Coffee is so ingrained in our culture that we don't think twice about paying that amount for something that actually costs less than 50 cents to produce. Of course, coffee shops have to cover expenses like wages, rent, electricity, and other overhead, so it makes sense to pay those $5 if you're going to spend hours working at a Starbucks, but spending that much just to grab a quick coffee is still excessive. I don't feel sympathy for people who complain about not having enough money but have no problem spending large amounts on coffee. Number 3, I stopped lending money to friends. I remember that when I was younger, I trusted people a lot. I thought they would pay you back and thank you for helping them when they really needed it. However, I found out that lending money to friends and family usually ends in one of 2 ways. Either you lose that money, or you get it back many years later. In other cases, you have to keep reminding them over and over because they never pay it back on time. That's an uncomfortable situation that no one enjoys. I've lent thousands of dollars to relatives and friends, and 70% to 80% of the time, they completely forgot they owed me anything. I remember a friend from college who couldn't pay his rent, so I lent him a few $100s. He never paid me back, and the worst part is that every time we saw each other, he acted like he didn't owe me anything. I'm not someone who clings to money, but if someone helps you when you need it, the least you can do is have the courtesy to pay them back. Number 4. Unhealthy snacks. This might be a little hard to accept because most of us love sweets, and suggesting that people stop buying them isn't something that will be well received. However, the problem with most sweets is that they're not good for your health and they're also expensive. Going to Starbucks and ordering a coffee with a pastry that's not healthy at all will cost you the same as a balanced meal. So, if you stop spending money on unhealthy snacks, you'll not only be taking care of your health but also your wallet. What could be better than that? Cars are the fifth biggest money waster of all time. When I bought my first car, I was really excited. I was finally going to be able to drive. I had wanted that for a long time. I didn't take out a loan to buy the car, I paid in cash and was proud of that. However, I didn't know that the real cost of owning a car would come afterward. First, if you're a new driver, like I was at the time, you'll pay a lot for insurance. Then come the costs of parking and gas, and every now and then you'll have to replace parts of the car because, like any vehicle, it wears out. Maybe you won't spend much in the first year, but as your car gets older, your expenses will start to rise. So, if you live downtown, it's better not to own a car, just use good public transportation or any other option you have. Buying a car only makes sense if you live outside the city, have kids you need to drive to school every day, or if you truly have no other way to get around. Other than that, if you're young, a teenager, or an adult without kids, please, don't buy a car and save that money to invest it in something better. Number 6. Don't buy the things you need unless they're on sale. There are things you want, and things you actually need. Like toothpaste, toilet paper, shaving products, and the list goes on. You're not going to wake up one day and suddenly stop brushing your teeth. So there are certain things that are essential to live a normal life. One of the best habits I've developed is trying to only buy what I need when it's on sale. Yes, I buy in bulk, and if it's not on sale, I don't buy it. Every now and then there are discounts, because that's how stores operate. Suppliers deliver products every week or every month, and the store needs to clear out what they have before the new stock arrives. The best way to sell what they've got is to put it on sale and let people like me buy it. I think it's one of the best ways to save money, because you know you'll need those things anyway. You just need a little planning, make a list and wait until they go on sale. It's like investing in stocks, you wait for the price to drop, and then you buy. Number 7, alcoholic beverages. Spending $15 here and another $20 or $30 there might not seem like something worth worrying about. You're having fun with friends, that's what really matters. But have you ever stopped to calculate how much you spend on drinking in a week, a month, a year, or even over 10 years? Have you ever done that math? Probably not, but if you think about it, it adds up to a significant amount. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, Americans spend about 1% of their gross annual income on alcohol. For the average family, that's $565 a year, or $5,650 over 10 years, or $22,600 over 40 years. At first, that may not seem like a lot of money to many people, but it's important to realize that $565 a year breaks down to about $11 a week, which could be the price of a single drink in many cities. So it's not fair to compare it to the average cost, because people who drink frequently tend to spend far more than $565 a year. Some even end up spending more than 10% of their income on alcohol, and then complain that they're living paycheck to paycheck. Personally, I don't drink because I don't see any benefit in it. I don't understand how it would make my life better, especially since I work every day, so I can't afford the luxury of drinking. It's not just about that moment of fun, but also the time you'll need to recover and get back to your routine. Based on what I've seen, these are the 7 things people waste the most money on. If you could change your habits just a little, if you could pay more attention to how you spend your money instead of buying whatever you feel like, if you simply waited for a discount or chose not to buy a car unless you really needed one, if you made your coffee at home or stopped eating unhealthy snacks, Just imagine how much money you could save in a single month. Suddenly, you'd have all the money you need to invest, whether it's in the stock market or saving for a down payment on a home.